Good morning. Welcome to the start of day 7. I got wet last night. Very wet. Pretty much everything I own is wet, except for the clothes I'm wearing right now, so that's good. It is a very damp, windy morning, and I am descending down into Dix Creek Gap, which is about 4.2 miles ahead of me. Trying to get there in the next 2 hours, or slightly over 2 hours, so I can catch a shuttle into Hiawassee. So I'll be moving at a pretty good clip. Probably not going to be recording anything else until I get there. I will say that I am probably considering ditching the hammock and going to a tent. Really have a challenging time right now keeping my hammock gear dry in these conditions. The tarp is excellent for dropping or for blocking falling rain and splashing rain, but when everything is just hazy like this the entire night and the entire next morning, having an exposed underquilt, it just gets saturated. And even my underquilt it's weather resistant. It's got weather resistant down in it, so the down doesn't pick up too much moisture, but the exterior, the casing for everything gets damp, and eventually it all soaks through. One night, no big deal. 2 nights, not the end of the world. 3 nights, you're starting to bum. Anyway, so I'm going to see, there's a really good outfitter in this town. I'm going to go check them out, Outdoor 76, see what they have for tent options, and then I may have my father overnight a ground pad for me. I've left him one just in case I did decide I want to switch to a tent. Anyway, I'm going to pump some miles out. See you later. Alright, hi guys. Look at me, all dry and showered and good stuff like that. So we're at the end of day 7. For day 7 there really isn't a whole lot of footage. When I woke up this morning I was soaked. Inside my hammock everything was wet. My underquilt soaked, top quilt soaked. The inside of my tarp was just raining water down on me like it was just raining. It was a really, really miserable morning. It was a little colder than it had been in the past week last night, but it wasn't terrible. It was probably about 40 degrees when I woke up. But I did camp on the top of a mountain, and when you're completely cold, or when you're completely wet, and you've got 40 degrees on top of a mountain with the wind blowing on you like it was this morning, that's a hell of a way to wake up. Anyway, I moved on down the mountain. I hiked 4.5 miles and made it down to Dix Creek Gap. And from Dix Creek, I got a shuttle. And the shuttle brought me into the town of Hiawassee. So here I am now at the Budget Inn in Hiawassee. And I am just taking the time to dry off and do some laundry, dry my clothes, my hammock, all that good stuff. And I'm actually going to be taking a 0 day here tomorrow, so pretty extended break. It's going to eat into my schedule a little bit. Not that I'm on an exact schedule. But anyway, yeah, so a 0 day here tomorrow, and then I'm going to be hitting the trail again hard on Wednesday, and I think, just based on my performance over the past couple of days and looking at some of the terrain that's coming up, I think I'm going to be able to start cranking out 15-mile days pretty much consistently now. So I hit my first goal. My first goal was for a week on the Appalachian Trail to do 75 miles. I met that goal. I'm pretty happy about that. I got off the trail at miles 69.1, I think it is. Dix Creek Gap is somewhere around there. So 69.1 of the Appalachian Trail, but I also did 9 miles of the approach trail to Springer Mountain. So 75 miles in a week, that's good enough for me. Now, this next upcoming week, I'm setting myself the goal for 100 miles. And I think with 15-mile days, I think I'm going to be able to achieve that. That's really all I'm setting as far as goals in the short term. I don't want to look too far ahead, try and say I'm going to do this by such and such. I'm just taking them one day at a time, rolling with the punches. As I said in my video when I was coming down the mountain this morning, I am considering switching to a tent. Pretty much immediately after I recorded that video, I actually texted Molly and my dad to basically set up a shipment of my ground pad to me so that I could start sleeping in a tent. But I want to hit up Outdoor 76 in Franklin, North Carolina, which is probably about 3 days out of here. So I'm going to tough it out with the hammock for the next 3 days, and depending on what they have at Outdoor 76, I may make the switch to a tent there. I really love hanging in a hammock, but the environment I'm finding myself in right now is really not very good for hammocks. I haven't seen anybody else out here camping in a hammock, and that surprises me. Everybody's doing tents, and they seem to be making out alright. They don't seem to be getting their gear too wet, for what it's worth. The environment here is really interesting. Up in these mountains, North Georgia, camping at night, you're basically just camping in a cloud. Almost every single night I've been here so far, it's just as soon as the sun goes down, it just descends upon you, and the air is just 100% moisture. I mean, you walk through it 100 feet to a bear bag or something, you come back wet, your clothes are all wet. It's really challenging. Something that's new to me. I mean, I'm always up for a challenge, but this one's been difficult. So if you know anything about hammocks, I showed you the hammock video on my day one video, but didn't go into real detail about it. The insulation layer known as an underquilt is actually outside of the hammock. It's an exterior piece that hangs below the hammock to create a little warm pocket of air underneath you. One of the main problems I'm having is that underquilt, which you can see right back there drying out, it's just getting saturated. The black material there, the outer shell of it, is just absorbing moisture. And this stuff is actually water repellent. It usually does a pretty good job. It'll get a little bit on the exterior and then it'll dry out pretty quick. But where this thing's sitting outside, basically in a cloud all night, it's been a challenge, and I'm struggling. So that's probably going to be the main thing leading me to go towards a tent. Not that I'm going to not have any issues in a tent. It's going to condense inside of a tent. There's going to be drips. Everybody out here is contending with the same sort of thing. But having one quilt to maintain, my sleeping bag, top quilt, on top of the pad, I think is going to be a little bit of a simpler solution. And when I hit up Outdoor 76, I'm not looking for an ultralight backpacking tent. I'm not going to go like something like along the lines of a Z-Packs or a Hyperlight Mountain Gear, just super thin Dyneema wall. I'm going to go with more of like a Nemo or MSR or something like that. It's a double wall, sort of a more traditional, slightly heavier. But you know, you get the inner tent portion with the netting, and then you have an exterior portion with the rain fly and all that good stuff. A double wall, so that for the most part the condensation could form on the outside wall and drip down a little bit and miss me. That combined with just a towel or something to wipe down the tent in the morning, I think will make a big difference. We'll see. I'm pretty sure I'm going to pull the trigger on it, but I might not. But like I said, we'll see. On that note, I'm going to go across the street. Here in town, there's a little brewery, which I think is closed on Mondays, but there's also a little Main Street Grill or something along those lines that a couple of the hikers I'm familiar with are going over, going to have a beer and a burger or something like that. So I'm going to go get to know them, have a round of drinks, and then get back to editing some videos and doing some updates for y'all. Hope you enjoy watching. Hope I haven't been rambling on too much for you. If you got any questions about anything I said, go ahead and fire away. I'll do my best to answer them. I'm having a lot of fun making these videos. It is a lot of work, but it's kind of rewarding. So keep watching. Bye.